Alright, so am I ever punchy today? Okay, so I drink like 3 espressos today, make a couple videos earlier today, then I decided I'd go get something to eat at Golden Corral. It's Saturday, so I went and had the all-you-can-eat buffet. I happened to coincide breakfast and lunch together, so I get my money's worth. That was mistake number one, because big fat guys eat a lot of food. So then I come home and I have a major carb crash, so I go take a nap. Now I'm still trying to wake up after the caffeine high and then now the carb high, so I'm trying to wake up. So stick with me a little bit here. We're going to talk about DHCP now, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. What DHCP is the automated process to assign IP addresses. You got to keep in mind that in your computer network, you have 2 different ways you can assign IP addresses. We can use statically, all right? That means a dude or a dudette set them up. Or we have DHCP, which means a server set them up, or there's a service running that set them up. So the difference between them is you can use a static setup at home because you don't really have a lot of computers. So you know, it takes a couple minutes to set up each computer in a static IP address. It's a lot to remember, but if you only have 4 or 5 computers at home, you can go ahead and you can set it up easily, and then you can port forward into them. You can remember which computer was what. I'm almost to the point at home where, for the most part, that's the way I run my system at home. I will take a couple pictures of it to show you guys. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 main machines that are all server type machines, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 laptops that I use for things, and then of course my wife has her system that she has in the back. So it's almost to the point where it's a lot to manage, but I only worry about my stuff. Her stuff's all set up on DHCP, so all she has to do is turn it on. She gets an IP address. I don't really care what it is. So let me show you what I set up here. I set up a server, all right, and your basic icons are down here. All right, right here's your server, so you can click and drag that up. Then I wanted a hub, all right, just a generic hub. What a hub is, it's like a repeater. It's like your little kid brother. It just repeats anything that's said and done. And then I came up here and I set in a client computer, which again, the client computers are down here. I went ahead and I used, for the cabling, I went ahead and used copper straight through cables, and I assigned them to ports. It'll pop up and it'll ask you which one you want to do. So then what I did was I went in and I configured my services. I had to set up DHCP, so I wanted my, I have to turn my service on, all right? That way when that computer boots up, it automatically starts, so a guy doesn't need to set it up, a guy or a girl, guy or gal, okay? Don't hit me for being not politically correct. Set up a default gateway. What your gateway is, that's your doorway to the internet. Think of it like if we're in a classroom and all the students in a classroom are data, and I tell them they got to go out in the parking lot, that's the internet. Well, they all have to go through a door. Okay, so we say, hey, there's your gateway. Go through that door, and then you'll be out on the internet. So if you're on a job interview and somebody says, hey, tell me what a gateway is. Hey, it's the doorway to the internet. Nothing more, nothing less. DNS server, that's your domain name system server. Domain name services change google.com to IP addresses. Computers are kind of stupid. They don't really know names of computers, so they have to have an IP address. So in this case, we set up domain name services to translate google.com into an IP address that the internet understands, basically making a language. Down here I have my scope. Your scope is your starting range of what your IP addresses are going to be. I like to start mine on my system at home at 192.168.2.20. The reason I do that is because then I know that I have 19 numbers that I could statically use if I want to, so that I could remote into those numbers. All I do is I remember, hey, the 192.168.2.5 goes to machine 1, 2.6 goes to machine 2, 2.7 might go to a Linux machine. That's so if I'm remote, I can remote into my router, and I can packet forward the packets right to that specific machine, so I can remotely control it or use remote desktop. And then of course my subnet mask, I'm only going to have 236 users. Alright, so all that looks good. Let's look at settings again. I do have to assign on my DHCP server, I do have to statically assign it an IP address. We don't want it giving itself an IP address. That can cause some confusion, especially later on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to statically assign it, my interfaces, and I'm going to set up my gateway, 192.168.2.1. Okay. And let me see if I got everything else here. We'll go to IP configuration. There's 2.2. Everything looks good there. Alright, so now let's come up here and let's look at my client. And I want my client to have a DHCP address where it gets it from a server. Okay, I'm going to power off my devices. Yes. Okay, and I'm going to reset the simulation. Probably power cycle the devices again, just to make sure. And away we go. So autoplay and capture. First thing that takes place here is our server is going to send out an ARP request. That's Address Resolution Protocol. Basically what it's doing is it's setting up, it's trying to find who all has IP addresses. The way it communicates there, if you recall, your instructors have probably told you need an IP address and a MAC address to talk on your local area network. It's probably a little bit of a lie because our different computers can actually talk MAC address to MAC address. Your MAC address is assigned by the manufacturer of the said device. So right now we're just trying to figure out who's got what IP address so we can continue doing some business. It is a simulation. The good thing about Packet Tracer is it's kind of cool. You can watch everything done. The bad thing about it is the more and more computers you have on it, the more processors you have going on, the slower the simulation. So we got to sit here and we got to kind of be patient as everything takes place. And we're still being patient. Alright, so finally, our DHCP, we don't have an IP address here, so it sent a request to the server for a DHCP address. The server's going to answer back. It's going to look and see who has that MAC address. Alright. Now it's going to respond back with the packet. Alright. And then your computer answers back. And now we're in business.